Ever heard of a guy named Amancio Ortega?
Mm.
You know, just the mastermind behind Zara, but like he's almost as famous for being, well, invisible.
Yeah, it's wild. We're talking global fashion empire, brands you see everywhere, and the man himself is practically a ghost.
Right. Like this is someone who hit peak billionaire status, but most people wouldn't recognize him in a grocery store.
Mm.
Gave maybe what, 3 interviews ever?
Three, if you can believe it,
Yeah,
especially in fashion where it's all about being seen, being loud. Makes you wonder.
totally. So where's all this aversion to the spotlight come from?
Uh,
Let's rewind 1936. Small village in Spain. Not exactly Fashion Week Central.
no kidding. Picture young Ortega, humble beginnings, family working for the railway. 14 years old, he moves to the city, A Coruña, gets a job, not at some fancy boutique, but a local shirt maker. Gala, the name was.
Wow. Talk about a far cry from those sleek Zara stores.
Right. But important, though, because he didn't just work there, he learned to make the clothes himself, by hand. This wasn't some theoretical business to him. He was in the thick of it.
Huh? Makes you think about Zara's whole fast fashion thing differently, huh? It's all speed and trends, but here's the founder, someone who knows what it takes to make a garment from scratch.
Absolutely. That deep knowledge of the craft, the fabrics, the construction had to influence his whole outlook. Even explain how Zara makes trendy clothes that are, well, pretty decent quality.
Makes sense.
Right.
But how do you go from shop hand to, like, fashion titan? That's a heck of a jump. What was the in-between step?
So 1963, he starts his own company, but not the clothing line you'd expect. Confessions ago made, get this, quilted bathrobes.
Bathrobes. Not exactly runway ready. What was he thinking?
It's funny, but I think it shows Ortega's smarts. He wasn't chasing its item. He saw a need, basic as it was. Bathrobes, people need them, he'll provide them. Practical guy.
Right, like a testing ground. Got to start somewhere, learn about manufacturing the whole 9 yards before you're dressing, well, half the planet.
Exactly, building that base. Then boom, 1975, Zara time. With his wife, Rosalie Mera, they started up. And it's right when the whole fashion scene's changing, too.
Oh yeah, ready to wear becoming a thing, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just those, what do they call the super expensive made-to-order places?
Haute couture. Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Clothes were becoming more accessible, less about exclusivity. And Zara, they were ready to, like, grab that and run with it.
It's funny how those things happen, someone's vision, and
Yeah.
the world's ready for it at the same time. But okay, so Zara, they didn't just ride that wave, they like reinvented surfing, didn't they?
No kidding. This is where fast fashion, as we know it, it really kicks off. Instead of spending months on designs, telling people what to wear, Zara's out there watching.
Watching how people actually dressed, not like runway models, right? So then they could, what, make clothes based on that, but way quicker than anyone else.
Exactly. Design, make it, get it in stores, weeks, sometimes even less. Created this buzz, like gotta have it now or miss out.
That's smart, though. Like, even if you didn't need anything, you went to Zara just in case, because who knew what would be gone next week?
Total consumer psychology thing turned shopping into this like treasure hunt. And the
Hmm.
more you looked, the more you found.
Genius. So Ortega, he might not have wanted the spotlight, but those clothes, they were meant to get noticed. But Zara, that was just the start, right? Then comes the Inditex group.
Now that's a name you might not know off the bat, but trust me, they're behind like half the brands you see at the mall. Over 6,000 stores, global. Zara's the big one, but Massimo Dutti, Bershka, Pull&Bear.
It's crazy, from that one little shop to all that. But what about the man himself? Leading all this, but, like we said, super private. What was his, like, management style?
Even after he stepped down, 2011, he's still a presence, a guiding force. People who worked with him, they say he was surprisingly down to earth, like detail-oriented, popping into stores, just watching, taking notes.
And the guy hated suits. Like, here's this fashion guy, but you'd find him in a blazer, white shirt, regular pants, none of it even Zara.
It's those quirks that make you wonder, right? Runs this fashion empire, but doesn't, like, buy into the whole flashy thing.
Makes you think Zara clothes, they are stylish, but they're also, like, wearable, not crazy stuff most people wouldn't wear. Maybe that's him being practical coming through.
I bet it is. Zara's for the everyday person, and maybe Ortega, at heart, he was one too. But speaking of not being flashy, his philanthropy, that was something else.
Right, and it's not just like writing checks either. It's stirred up some controversy too, hasn't it?
Definitely. It's not always straightforward. Like in 2012, he gives this huge donation, 20 million euros, to Caritas Internationalis, so helping people globally, great. But then, 2017, he makes headlines again. $300 million this time, fighting cancer in Spain.
Wow. What was he, like, funding specifically?
Mostly equipping hospitals,
Mhm.
the best tech for treating cancer, detecting it early, all good stuff, right? But some people saw it as like damage control.
Damage control. You mean from the whole fast fashion debate?
Exactly. Is this big donation enough to balance out concerns about, the environmental impact, that kind of thing?
It's a tough one. Can you really separate the two? Like being generous, but also your business practices maybe need some work. Something to think about, right?
For sure. No easy answers. Gets into the whole like, what are companies responsible for these days? But you know what else is interesting about Ortega? His real estate.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the real estate. Like fashion wasn't enough, got to go conquer buildings too. And not just like a beach house. This is serious stuff.
Sirius is right. Ponadea, that's his company. They manage this huge portfolio. We're talking prime locations all over. Buildings in Madrid, Barcelona, that crazy fancy hotel in Miami, even part of where Amazon's headquarters are in Seattle.
It's kind of wild. Like he just, I don't know, collects skyscrapers now. But why real estate, you think?
It's a good question. Maybe it's that, real estate, it's stable, bricks and mortar, it'll always be there. Unlike fashion, always changing, right? Or maybe he just saw a good deal, like he always does. Hard to say with him.
It's true. There's always this like mystery around the guy.
Yeah.
But that makes him even more interesting to learn about. So we've covered a lot, his early days, how he built Zara, his giving, the real estate empire.
Yeah.
But what's it all add up to? What's his legacy going to be, you think?
That is the question, right? He's this bundle of contradictions, self-made guy, built something huge, but also fast fashion. People have a lot of feelings about that. So, yeah, how's history going to judge him? It's going to be fascinating to see.
Definitely. And it makes you think bigger picture, too,
Yeah.
about how we consume, sustainability, all that. We might not have all the answers, but hopefully this deep dive into Ortega makes you think next time you see a Zara store.
Exactly. There's this whole story, this whole world behind those clothes.
Yeah,
That's what's fun about these deep dives, makes you curious.
totally. So next Zara trip, think about Amancio Ortega, visionary, product of his times, someone trying to do some good, maybe all of it. Just like the man himself, it's a mystery. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.